Well, it looks like there's a good possibility that Pete Hegseth is going to be ousted. I'm thinking Trump at this point should have said, "Look, buddy, you're going to have to withdraw, or I'm going to have to oust you." So, whichever, I don't care, but he cannot be confirmed. If he is confirmed, and that would definitely be a very big dark stain on the Republican Party permanently. I've talked to people just locally in my own area, and they're just like horrified that this guy was nominated. They're just like, and I'm in a red state. I am in 100% red state. Every single county voted red. And I'm also a red voter. But he is a disgrace to the Republican Party. And, just because somebody's a Republican doesn't mean they're a Republican. Okay? But he has no business. He has no business in this position. He doesn't have the experience militarily. He was deployed as a guardsman, but he has serious personal problems, and he has very sexist. His own mother made comments about his abuse of women, and then he lied, straightway lied, and said that he was completely cleared of any wrongdoing, and no, he wasn't. And the rape allegations, no, he wasn't. They forwarded that to the prosecutors. But when it comes to rape, and if it's not like some stranger who just, like, they didn't even know the person and they were, rape is hard to prove when it's somebody that may have in any way linked up with them. Like if the guy just turns into a jerk in their meeting or whatever. I mean, it's hard. It's he say, she say, and it's hard. And the rules of discovery and the rules of evidence are very, very stringent. And so just because they didn't feel that it was a strong enough evidence to prove, especially if somebody who has political prowess or somebody of any kind of public stature, it makes it even harder and more complicated. And he knows this, he lied. It was forwarded to the prosecutor. The media on both sides have reviewed. And he just lied. He just lied to the whole world and said that he was completely cleared. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. And let's say at some time he confessed that he did it, and a witness comes forward, and maybe they recorded him or something like that. He could still be prosecuted. But it wasn't just that. It was his driving veteran charities into the ground, and just being drunk, and just many problems. Many problems. His own mother, in emails have talked about how abusive he is to women. So Trump has recently looked at, according to what's being reported, a couple other people that he's considering replacing him with. And there's two people, and Desantis, I believe, is on the top of the list, and this Joni Ernst, which I'm a little concerned about. I think her position for fighting for females, recognition of them in combat roles is definitely a plus for her. I don't really know that much about, but anything is better than Hegseth, I'm telling you what. Desantis, I wouldn't complain, but she is being silent on whether Pete Hegseth would have her vote for U.S. Defense Secretary. I have a problem with this. To me, personally, I think that's sucking up to Trump. And I don't like suck-ups. I don't like that. It's like, you need to be who you are. You need to have a backbone. You need to say what needs to be said. Do it diplomatically. Say what needs to be said. But never, ever compromise because you want to suck up. Because I think she's afraid to criticize him because Trump nominated him. That would be like criticizing Trump, and like he would take that personal, right? If she spoke up, it's like, oh, well, no, that's a bad nomination. Like, you can't imagine her to say that, right? So she's keeping silent on whether or not she's going to vote against him. So we will see if she doesn't get, if he does go, if he isn't ousted by the time they have to vote and confirm him, and she nominates him and votes for him, she's as fake can be, and should never, ever be trusted, and people should replace her in her role in the Senate. Now, I did fact check there was some articles talking about her support of gay marriage. A lot of Republican conservatives, they're like, oh, she voted for a bill that gay marriage. So I looked into that. And so that particular bill, as you know, when it comes to bills, it's very complicated because they'll put combination things in there. And I was horrified that they put trying to make a law to legalize interracial marriages. I'm like, first of all, never ever put in a bill that you need to legalize interracial marriages. You don't need support for interracial. I don't know of any state anywhere who's trying to say that it's not legal if you're of an interracial marriage. That's just stupid to even put that in there. And it's like, why are they even putting that in there? It almost makes it look like it's not legal and you have to pass a law to make it legal. To me, that was very offensive. Okay, for people to do that, it's just ridiculous. But also in that bill was protections for the church. And I saw fake news where they were trying to claim that it was against protection of religious liberties. And I'm just like, so I go, and I didn't actually read the text of it itself, but I read the fact checkers, and they were, I think it was AP, so I probably will double check, because you can't always trust, the Associated Press for sure. But they said that it has protections in it that churches cannot be sued if they refuse to, they can't be sued or have tax exempt taken from them if they don't, officiate a gay marriage. Like, nobody should go after a church. And they do. They go after Christian businesses. And to me, it's like, you're just trying to have your own right, but trump other people's rights. And that's one thing I hate about all of that. So I think that her vote, the way she voted, I don't have a problem with it because of the inclusion of protections. But I haven't read the text, okay? But I think that they're trying to defame her and her vote, because they said that particular bill, Protection Respect of Marriage Act or something like that, included, I think that the reason they put gay marriage to be protected because of a comment of one of the justices in a recent case about they might be looking to overturn. They overturned Roe versus Wade, was huge. So they think there might be a possibility they may overturn the gay marriage decision. So they created this legislation to basically protect gay marriage, but also protect the churches and religious people. And I don't think anybody should ever have to go against their belief or their conscience. And that was one of the things that particular case did immediately. The case that allowed gay marriages did have comments in the ruling, because I read it back then, to preserve rights of people of faith. But instantly, the first thing they did was start going and attacking Christian people. Like the lady who was in, I can't remember what state she was in, was a court clerk, and she's like, it had her name on the paper or whatever. So they should have immediately changed that and allowed somebody else to sign for it. But instead, they demanded that she sign it. She's like, well, they're going to have to make a change because I'm not going against my conscience. And they actually jailed her indefinitely for contempt. That was a big deal. And so they have, tried to make sure that people of faith are protected, because you can't have one right trump another person's right, because then it's not a constitutional right. It's just tyranny. It's just this battle of constitutional rights. It's like what they're doing with this transgender stuff. They're trying to, attack Christian parents or any people. There's a lot of people of faith that are against a lot of things, but for whatever reason, they focus on Christians. They never go after Muslims. They do go after Jews quite a bit. This is like the second Holocaust of, since the first Holocaust. But, you know what I'm saying? They always target Christians. Like, they go after Christian businesses. I've never seen them go after Muslim businesses. Of course, I don't know Muslims owning, cake. A lot of businesses are Christian businesses, right? And it's a part of, it might be connected to their church organization or whatever. And they target them. They literally will move from one place to another to target somebody. It's horrendous. But anyways, I think her vote on that should be supported based on the protections that it does give. There might have been something that it was against. I don't know. I haven't read the text, but from what I read, the fact checking was that it does give protections for the churches. So, yeah, I don't like her silence on this matter. I think she should just say, you know what? I'm not going to vote for him. But it seems like she's trying to be silent because maybe she's hoping that she gets selected. And I think that's wrong. I think that she should, in good conscience, if she's really for the rights of women, she should speak up, and she says, no, I'm absolutely not going to vote for him. But then again, you know, I don't think that you should vote publicly. I think you should hear everything in the time where voting takes place. I think you should reserve, but I think she should say something. I think she should say, you know what, I'm going to make my vote at the time that's appropriate and hearing everything from both sides. But my position is that she should make it known, which she's already well known. She's already well known for her position about female soldiers in combat, you know, service. I mean, she's already known for that, right? So, like, we don't have to ask her that. But if she will vote for him, then she's fake. Then, you know what I'm saying? She's just using fighting for women soldiers to get votes. Okay, because if she votes for this guy, she's fake. And I don't know. I think I would feel better about her if she openly said, yeah, no, I'm not voting for him. Yeah, anyways. But that's what the due process is for, is when they get to that point where they're going to confirm or not confirm somebody, you know, is to hear all things and then make your vote. But anyways, so he's considering other people. Desantis, I don't really know. I haven't really looked into him, but I don't really see anything. Definitely anything's better than Hegseth. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare. What an absolute nightmare. Dude, I'm like, listen, I've already made my position known. I said, if he gets confirmed, I will never vote Republican again. They need to clean house. These Republicans from Oklahoma, Mark Wainwollen, he's horrible. He needs fired. Fire his butt. He's a sexist. We have so much sexism going on in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is an extremely racist and sexist state. But you have good Republicans in Oklahoma, though. They're not all, like, just, anyways. So, Hegseth, I'm going to keep praying, and I ask other people, please pray, do not let him get confirmed. Because he's a dishonest person. He doesn't have the experience. I wish Trump would just sit down and consider those who are currently active duty generals and admirals and colonels, and look at those who are well experienced people. Like, I think I'm not, like, a lot of things Biden has done has just irritated me. Like, oh my gosh. But I support some of the things he does. I'm absolutely for support of Ukraine. He's definitely got a good choice over the Department of Defense. Lloyd Austin is extremely experienced, over 4 decades in active duty, 4-star general, you know, and has led the U.S. Central Command. He's extremely experienced, and that's what you need when you're overseeing our military forces and foreign policies and just, anyways. But I don't really see anybody. She is a combat veteran, so that's good. And she actually served in active duty, which he has never served in active duty. And being deployed as a guardsman is absolutely not the same thing as being in, you know, serving an active duty branch. There is a huge difference. I've served in both branches, and I would never declare my time as a guardsman as being in U.S. Army. I served in the U.S. Army National Guard for 4 years, and then I served in the United States Army, and I was deployed to war, and I was, you know, I am a combat veteran. I did get injured at war dealing with hostiles, and a lot of people, just because you get deployed to war does not make you a combat veteran, and also just because you are in specific positions. If you're in infantry, that also does not make you a combat veteran. Okay, there's specific things that are detailed and it's, you know, what the Department of Defense, certain areas that you get deployed to. There were many people who were deployed to Desert Storm that are not combat vets. They didn't get paid hazard pay, and they didn't deal with hostiles. They never saw violence. They never, you know what I mean? It doesn't make them, you know, it doesn't make them any less to be grateful for. I'm just saying there are certain things. And I think the women of police force should also be offended by anybody saying women serve in a combat role. Because I personally, as a veteran, I remember when I was on the veteran float, I was on the veteran float in Denver, Colorado, many years ago, and they had a veteran from various wars on that float, to include, the elder. I think at that time they even had a World War One in there. He was really, really old. They almost have to lift him on that float to get him on there. But I remember seeing the police officers lining up and giving us, like saluting us, as our float went by. And I just thought, I saluted them back, because I felt like officers never know who the enemy is. They never know when any type of encounter can turn deadly. And in war, you at least have the idea that you know who your enemies are and who your potential enemy could be, in dealing with hostiles that can rise up anywhere. And I just think that his insult to women in the military is also an insult to women police, because there's women police who have had to take lives and face these Democrats who act like they don't have a right to self-defend or whatever. I can't imagine having every day you put on your uniform. You never know. If you're just out there talking to somebody, or domestic calls, or just any time traffic calls can turn deadly. It's you never know. The most minute, seems to be not dangerous or risky encounter can turn deadly, and you never know who your enemy could be. To me, and especially when they've been in shootings and dealt with, that's combat. That's combat. So how can they say such things? And it also it causes problems in the police force to look down upon women in uniform who are working side to side also with the men. And I just think it's horrible that he's nominated. And it's just, I didn't vote for Trump because I believe everything he says. I think a lot of things he says is BS, and I call him on it, But that doesn't mean that he isn't was the right pick because of the things that he's going to deal with. Okay, but both sides are full of it. Like, politicians, I don't care if he's like, some people don't consider Trump a politician. Well, I'm sorry, but he is. He may be more of a businessman. He may come from the business perspective of politics, but or celebrity, or whatever you want to classify him as, he is so full of it. And I've done videos on things that he's full of, and yet some of the things that he has said, and he's resilient. Like, he doesn't cave. Like, you prosecute him till the day he dies, and he's still going to hold his position. To me, that is strength, and you're going to need that in this day and age. But that doesn't mean I'm going to blindly accept everything he's saying and doing. I'm just like, I can't stand people who are people sheeple. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but people, you need to prove all things. You need to look at every single thing somebody does, whether it's right or not. I don't care, people you love, your best friends. If wrong is wrong and right is right. Okay, you don't put people on a pedestal and treat them like gods that they can do no wrong. But this guy right here, he ain't got no business sitting in a position such as the Department of Defense. It's a very, very important role. Okay, and he just has no business. And I just pray to God that, please, I've been begging God. I'm just sitting here just like, God, please, you know the truth if he raped that woman. If you know the truth. You know the truth, and it's horrible. It's horrible the way he's demeaning women. And he's just he's just out of touch with reality. And he's an extremist. He is an extremist. And, you look at God, think about what happened to JL. JL in the Old Testament, God chose her. I don't think he would have chose just every woman to do what he had her do. But she took out Sisera. And it was actually a judgment against the Israelites that he did that. But he used a woman in a war, and she put a tent peg through his skull. That is violent. And not every woman could probably do that. But women have value. And especially myself as a Christian, I would not have continued to work once I got married and started having children. because nobody else is going to raise my children. I'm going to be at home with my kids, and I'm going to be enjoying that time of them being little babies and just enjoying that, right? So I'm not judging women that do. I'm just saying from my beliefs in the Bible. But women who are young and unmarried, I mean, they have to work. And people who think that combat is, oh, that's like people in special forces or infantry. No, that's not what combat is. Combat, every person who goes deployed to war has to carry a weapon on them. And people who go into certain areas, there's definitely higher risk of dealing with hostiles and having to take prisoners and deal with, you know, taking lives, or you just, in certain activities that, and some specific jobs do face higher risk and they see more violence. But that doesn't mean you don't look at women like women might work in like food service or mail or supplies or ration or mechanics, whatever. It's not an occupational job that makes them a combat vet. Because I'm going to tell you something else. Anybody who's been deployed at war, you know that everybody does rotations, and that means everybody has to do guard duty or whatever. And the very first day I arrived in our it was called the Dewdrop Inn, and we're in this area, this campsite, where we're all going to be, you know, convoyed out to different areas, and this was like basically our in processing area. The very first day, there's drive-by shootings. If if you get stuck with guard duty or whatever, and there's so many different situations at war where they're working side to side. And it's not, but in his mind, he thinks, well, I was in this job and that makes me more important because, you know. And this guy volunteered. Like, he wasn't even assigned, right? But he was deployed as a guardsman. He never even served in active duty. He doesn't have any experience, none, not one day, of being an employee of an active duty branch. And it makes a difference, because when you give up your freedom to just work whatever job you want and go live where you want, you do a weekend every month, and then you do 2 weeks in the summer, unless you volunteer for extra summer trainings, but you are a guardsman. You are subject to deployment. So he did brief deployments, but that does not make him an active duty soldier. When you give up your freedom, like, they own you, the government owns you, and it's a different lifestyle altogether. And he has no understanding of active duty branch. He thinks because he did some brief deployments as deployed guardsman, that's what's going to show in your DD-214. He was a deployed National Guardsman. He doesn't make you, oh, I'm now serving the United States Army because I've been deployed. And now I'm activated. I'm activated. I'm on active duty or whatever. It doesn't make you in the U.S. Army. They're two separate branches, and it's two separate lifestyles. So he doesn't have any experience as an active duty soldier. And I think there needs to be legislation that anybody that's going to take the role of Department of Defense needs to have a specific rank, certain amount of years in active duty service. That's it. And I think really they should have served at war. Okay, so it just makes Trump look so bad. His nomination of him is so bad. It just shows him, because Trump never served in the military, and he actually said this guy served in the U.S. Army. He doesn't even know the difference. He doesn't even know the difference. It's just like, it's pathetic. But anyways, I'm gonna keep praying. This guy will not be confirmed, and either one of the other options that he's looking at, or what's saying that he's looking at, whether it be Desantis or be Joni Ernst, either one of those will be better than this guy. So keep praying. Please do not let this guy get confirmed.